Bantwana Benkosi. We are now with Comrade Voter, Fikile Mbalula. If you want to join this conversation, 0861987000. Secretary General of the ANC, in the most difficult years of the ANC. I mean, you are literally sitting in the role of Sol Blaki, Alata. You're sitting in the role of Walter Sisulu, OR, up to Khalema. And having inherited the SGO after a vacancy caused by Magashule, it's been 3 years in office now. If you could give us 3 things that you think have improved in the state of the organization since you took over.
Thank you very much, and all the listeners for having us, and thank you for the accolades of the historical role of the Secretary General's office. We didn't inherit Magashule's vacancy. He was dismissed in the ANC. So we inherited a full position that was led by Paul Mashatile, whom we called Trinity, because he held 3 positions because they were vacant. That's the man you can refer to as the inheritor of Magashule's vacancy. So we inherited a position. And then secondly, I think in terms of your question, the main issue is the reputational damage the ANC suffered in a period of 10 years after Pulugwani conference. That's what we suffered, and the subjective factors that goes with that is lack of discipline, the collapse of the political center in terms of the organization, and overall lack of discipline and so on, and the battered image of the African National Congress as a party for sins of incumbency, for things that the party did not do, but those who were mandated by the party to lead in government got to do, and they inflicted pain in the reputation of the African National Congress. And that's one part that we're to deal with. As secondly, inward looking, the ideological erosion of the ANC in relation to its membership, cadership, and those who are at the helm of the organization in terms of consciousness collapse. So this is what renewal had to deal with. The third part is the part of how the ANC as a party carries itself as an organization to imbue society with new, fresh ideas and hope at all material times. So those are the 3 things that when we come in, both subjective and objective, we have to deal with.
And would you say in any of them there has been considerable improvement?
Yes, there's been considerable improvement. We've got a long way to go because, like Joel Nechitenze, if you have to quote him, he says that old habits die hard. Those who stand not to benefit from renewal will not let go without a fight. That's Joel Nechitenze, not me, quote unquote. So if you were to touch somebody, even your friend, and so on, because of these old habits that have brought and inflicted pain to the party in terms of reputational damage, the question will be solidarity among the wounded. They will come around. When we have to act, it will always be difficult to basically act, but eventually the party will get there. So that is very difficult. The stain that we have suffered as a result of the external incumbency, sense of incumbency, challenges we have inherited in the democratic state of corruption, civil service, and all of that is corrupt, and all of that have unfortunately affected the ANC. And some of our cadreship at an advanced level finding themselves in the mix of that, that is difficult to go. So these are some of the challenges. Discipline, we are dealing with that, and membership is responding, not just with constitutionalism of the ANC, like telling people you'll be taken to the DC, but you will never see anyone anymore going to court to support corrupt, implicated leaders. You will never see that anymore in the ANC. So it means members now begin to understand that if somebody is arrested and been prosecuted for things that involve corruption, we shouldn't take ourselves there in support of this person. They must stand on their own. We have introduced Step Aside. It is working in the party. It has helped us a great deal to allow members to deal with the challenges that they face, on accusations that they face, to step aside and deal with those particular challenges. It has helped the organization a great deal. Sense of incumbency, it's difficult because we get accused for something that is being done in government by a low-level corrupt supply chain management in a certain department and found to be corrupt, and that is blamed on the ANC through the tendering processes and all of that and so on. So that must be fought in a big way to extricate ourselves from this kind of image.
It's going to be, as you say, there's pushback from discipline. One of the theories that the former president always canvasses to the public is that there was a deliberate effort to infiltrate the ANC up to its highest level in the interest of weakening it, because this gigantic ANC that existed for about 20 years of democracy was so difficult to challenge from outside, oppositions and all of that. So they've had to infiltrate it, and this infiltration took a very long time. So when you're sitting in meetings, you are sitting with people whose objective of being in the ANC is to weaken it. I know that might mean you must purge, but through the disciplinary processes, in the highest echelons of the ANC, let's suppose these individuals are in the top 7, are in the NEC, how precisely do you envisage that you will be able to extricate yourself if they hold very, very strong positions, and some of them may be precisely the positions that need enforcing of discipline?
Let me be simple with you, Doctor. In the days of apartheid, our struggle was infiltrated, and then the enemy planted enemy agents and agent provocateurs in our ranks. And they were singing the same songs, and then they were wearing our t-shirts. They were the most militant, not afraid of the enemy, and yet they were in the payroll of the enemy. But we managed to find them because it was easy to identify somebody who comes from outside with a different culture and with ill intentions. And where they were found, we dealt with enemy agents and provocateurs. But they were there. In the period of freedom, where we have to open up our organization like that, tendencies of infiltration are not as clearly defined like enemy agents and comtsotsis and provocateurs, whom we will see provocateurs, we will say in the township, as Kwel. Comtsotsis will be chasing bakeries in order to give a bad image to our struggle internationally, that the ANC in South Africa is leading a struggle by targeting people in what we call soft targets. So they were just giving a bad reputation to our thing, to our struggle. Today, they operate from within. And that has been the long-term game plan that we have known. And that's why the name counter-revolution. So those tendencies have always been there, doing an ANC things over a period of time. You know, things like today, the people who extort people in business, that pay 30% here if you want protection for your business to be safe in the township. You're building a third road here, a person have got a tender there. Those comtsotis come there and demand 30% without doing anything. They are there in the system. And then by day, they are ANC. You see this person, very respectable person, is an ANC activist. By night, is extorting poor business people who have gotten their own tenders, doing business in the townships on their own right because they've got the capacity. Bayazizama abantu bakaThixo, abantu baseMzantsi Afrika. Comtsotis will come there and extort 30% from them for protection. And these are thugs which have found easily their way into the challenge of mortgaging of the ANC that we talked about as early as 1996 when Kgalema Motlanthe delivered the organizational report. So quick to your answer, what do we do? The systems and the policies that you put in place, like renewal, like Joel said, if you enforce them, you run with them, they will fight them, but at the end of the day, we'll deal with them one by one, and they will define themselves outside the parameters of the organization.
But it seems to me that the party needs some form when it declared a renewal. It's been saying that for a while, but at some point it was as if it's putting a state of emergency situation that either we renew or we die. And I'll give very practical examples. What do you do? What really do you do with these characters that you are naming? Are we likely to see disciplinary actions against such characters where the party, because the party doesn't have to convict a person on the basis of beyond reasonable doubt. It has to do it on a balance of probabilities, in which case you just need circumstantial evidence. Now, I'll give you a very practical example, SG. The Minister of Police writes a letter, December 31st, when you were busy preparing for your fireworks with your children, to disband, number one, a political task team, and says it must disband immediately. 2, freezes crime intelligence, the appointment of crime intelligence positions. You were a minister of police, you worked in the state. That's a blatant incident of police political interference. Cyril takes his action, very well and good. What has the ANC done? If the ANC is so serious about renewal, since December 31st, New Year, we are sitting here, the ANC, through its own mechanisms of renewal, Senzo seems to be still attending your NEC meetings, still in deployment, a person that on a balance of probabilities should have been held accountable of this action. Maybe it would have done an easy job for the head of state.
The ANC processes have kicked in since this matter has come to the public domain, and they are fully observed. Integrity Commission and all of that he explained himself there in terms of his actions. Once the Integrity Commission makes up its recommendations to the NEC, we'll then be able to take a decision. Should we have taken drastic steps to suspend anybody? Perhaps the ANC should move to that gear in the future, looking at these matters as they happen. But our own constitution, and as well as what we have adopted in terms of resolutions on the fight against corruption, as much as they are very harsh, they seem to be inadequate by day. And so we will have to deal with that in terms of strengthening our fight against corruption and wrongdoing. Because wrongdoing is not only confined to corruption, it can be wrongdoing of any form, including incompetence can lead to wrongdoing, and wrongdoing can be about many other things that must be weighed up, and an organization can take decisions in terms of what needs to happen. So, Doctor, what needs to happen is us strengthening our own resolve in terms of measures of intervention, but ANC processes immediately when such was reported have kicked in. So, and I'm sure by now the minister will have appeared before the Integrity Commission voluntarily or been convened. But in this instance, the report I got is that is doing it voluntarily to explain himself. And by the
would you agree that the pace with which you act in this case, and I'll introduce another dynamic in employment, doesn't seem to be responding to the urgency of how really difficult it is for the ANC at this stage, this project of renewal? I mean, if you are waiting for 6 months, 8 months to respond to a letter he has admitted he wrote, he doesn't say he didn't write it, and he doesn't see anything wrong with the fact that he told police, do not make appointments that are operational. This is an instance of clear political interference. If the pace of the movement that is trying to renew itself is such that since the new year,
no, no, Doc, let me correct you. I see you want to put me in the ad hoc committee or Madlanga. And you will not be putting Mbalula, you put the ANC. Let me explain to you, Doc, and which is what the ANC supported and why. And first, any allegation must be tested in a competent court of law. That's one. In as far as allegations, how they affect the party image and reputation, they are subjected to integrity. It's not a disciplinary matter, it's an integrity question. And then when allegations are made, a process of how those allegations are dealt with set in motion, and which is what we supported. They have been tested. Now, I don't want to argue or not argue to respond to your question about what is operational and whether the minister erred, and we can come to a conclusion that he interfered. I will be doing what we said we won't do, giving a running commentary and putting ourselves in the commission. That's the question that the commission itself must probe. It cannot be us and all of that. And the second one is the allegation that the minister is not only surrounded, is in cahoots with cartels.
Yes.
But also the commission must equally define these cartels. And we see these things now unfolding in the commission, a report being made by operatives and all of that. And with all the information which seemed to be very scientific, should then lead us to the conclusion of whether or not the minister erred. So it's not like a straightforward question that it is reported, a letter was signed, and then the party must act. The key question is, the minister will have to explain, as a minister deployed by the ANC, competently so, whether my actions were justified, was it lawful, and that and that. And let me tell you, if it is found at the end that he acted unlawfully, and then there is overwhelming proof that indeed this minister was in cahoots with cartels and criminal elements and all of that, and so on, we wouldn't wait for anything else, but we will be called upon to act at that moment. In terms of integrity, there are two things that lead you in this matter. First, it's your conscience as an individual, leader, and a member, to say that this situation should actually happen with me
At home.
at home. And then that's the question of
Yeah, now
conscience.
utamagadi bodyguard.
Yes,
Just state.
no, mamela. The second one is that you can be pushed, which then you can fight back legally and say that, no, I am not supposed to be where I am because in terms of the following prescripts in law, I'm being treated unfairly. And he will win in that regard.
Let's leave Mkhunu SG. This, my concern is the pace. ANC's own efforts to jealously guard for its value system, not to be violated, not to be rubbished by ministers, by people in the administration who call themselves ANC members. Isn't it true that you are always acting so slow? Even with Zuma, you took until majority of your electoral gains were fundamentally undermined before you acted on a man who said he's holding dual membership during the most contentious election in the life of the ANC. A former president of the ANC. You still took your time. It seems that the wheels to renew are slower than a snail.
No, Zuma was not a question of renewal, acting slowly. It was a question of an individual prone to litigation and how you deal with him in relation to that. And then the reality that if you join another party, our constitution is clear, you have dismissed yourself, which we maintained. But Zuma was doing it deliberately to bring a complexity to the ANC and a difficulty to dismiss him.
But it was
And,
ill-discipline.
yeah, it was ill-discipline. Zuma, even now, I'm in court with Zuma. We are in court with Zuma about his membership. He says he's still a member of the ANC. And then now you will understand what we're dealing with. If you acted outside the prescripts of your constitution and you don't follow everything to the latter, he will go to court and win against you and restore his membership. We live in a democracy. We live in a country that is a country of a rule of law, and he will win there against the party. So your militant, very fast decision will not obtain in court. He will win because he will simply go to court and say, these people dismissed me even without following their due processes. And that is it. And yet, on the other hand, it was clear that by joining another party, you are dismissed. You have dismissed yourself. But the Constitution also calls for somebody to be brought before the DC and all of that, because he maintained. And indeed, Jacob Zuma, when you went to his records and his branch, he was a member in good standing. He's not taking chances. He knew what he was doing. It's not like some other characters who claim membership, but they never renewed it and it actually collapsed. So it's easy to deal with that. So if Zuma's membership had collapsed, we wouldn't even be, not collapsed, lapsed.
Lapsed, yeah.
We wouldn't even be arguing about his membership anywhere else. It will just be taken as such.
Okay, this is Power Talk, Bantwana Benkosi. We are still with the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Fikile Mbalula. We're going to go to the news. When we come back, we'll try get the SG's views on the GNU and Donald Trump. So stay tuned to the news with Wonga.
Power News.
In the top stories, the South African government is working through diplomatic channels to secure the safe return of 17 South African men stranded in the Donbas region of Ukraine. And auditing firm PricewaterhouseCoopers has told Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts that it played no role in advising the Road Accident Fund to change its accounting standards. Good morning, I'm Dr Ndlozi. The South African government is working through diplomatic channels to secure the safe return of 17 South African men stranded in the Donbas region of Ukraine after being lured under false pretenses of employment. Presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya says the men were deceived by individuals linked to foreign military networks and have found themselves caught up in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. He says under South Africa's Foreign Military Assistance Act, it is illegal for citizens to take part in or provide assistance to foreign military operations without government approval.
The President and the South African government strongly condemn the exploitation of young, vulnerable people by individuals working with foreign military entities. Under the Foreign Military Assistance Act of 1998, it is illegal for South African citizens and entities to offer or provide military assistance to foreign governments or participate in armies of foreign governments unless authorized by the South African government.
Auditing firm PricewaterhouseCoopers has told Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts that it played no role in advising the Road Accident Fund to change its accounting standards. SCOPA chairperson Songezo Zibi says the committee is probing whether the RAF board acted lawfully and sought proper advice before making the decision. The RAF has since spent over 20 million rand on litigation against the Auditor General over the matter. Zibi says contradictions remain between what the RAF told the courts and what PwC has stated to Parliament. Summons have been also issued for the former RAF officials to appear before the committee.
The chief problem at the Road Accident Fund is that it is underfunded. What the Road Accident Fund did then is that they came up with an accounting policy that wasn't actually helpful to the underfunding of the Road Accident Fund, because it basically said that unless TT is about to be paid, the provision in the balance sheet does not need to be made. And of course, they've got over 430,000 people that they are not progressing to the point where they are about to be paid, and that allows them to say, well, our balance sheet is not so bad, but it actually is.
Human rights lawyer Tato Gavane from the organization Section 27 says it is deeply disappointing that nearly a decade later, learners in many Limpopo schools are still forced to use unsafe pit toilets. More than 10 years after 5-year-old Michael Komape tragically fell into a school pit toilet and died, teachers and learners in parts of the province continue to face poor sanitation and unsafe infrastructure. However, despite several deadlines and even a High Court order compelling the Department of Education to act, little progress has been made to eradicate pit toilets in the province. Speaking to Power this morning, Gafane made these remarks.
I think it's very realistic and practical to think that 10 years beyond the court order, something substantial would have been done. The timelines that were there were set out by the department on their own, and we agreed with them on the timelines, which meant that by March of 2023, they would have eradicated all pit toilets in South African schools. Unfortunately, we continue to live in a reality where most learners are forced to study in those conditions where they have to use pit toilets, which are undignified, but not only undignified. You would remember that the court order declared that pit toilets are also unlawful in South Africa because they violate a number of constitutional rights.
She says in a democratic South Africa, learners are still subjected to inequalities that strip away their dignity.
We've seen, not only with the death of Michael Komape in Limpopo over 10 years ago, there's been a number of learners, and most recently, I think about a month ago, a learner in the Northwest fell into a pit toilet and unfortunately has been in a coma for a while and subsequently passed away. So these are real issues which are affecting learners, not only learners, but learners in underprivileged communities, and it's widening the inequality gap.
And in news further afield, Mauritania's former president, Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, has lost his final appeal against a 15-year prison sentence for corruption during his time in office. Abdelaziz was initially sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2023 after being found guilty of amassing $70 million in illicit assets. During his appeal, his lawyers argued that the trial was politically motivated. However, his first appeal was rejected in May, and his sentence was increased to 15 years. Abdelaziz seized power in a 2008 coup and was subsequently elected president twice, serving from 2009 to 2019 before stepping down. In 2021, he and 10 other prominent figures, including 2 former prime ministers, were charged with illicit enrichment, abuse of office, influence peddling, and money laundering. Since his conviction, Abdelaziz has been stripped of his assets and civic rights. Taking a look at your financial indicators, the rand is trading at 17.47 cents to the US dollar, 22.78 to the pound, and 20.08 to the euro. Gold's trading at $3,982.32 a fine ounce, and Brent crude oil is at $64.40 a barrel. Recapping the top story in Power News at this hour. The South African government is working through diplomatic channels to secure the safe return of 17 South African men stranded in the Donbas region of Ukraine.
Power News. On FM, online, and DSTV channel 889. This is Power 98.7.
This is Power 98.7. And now you're listening to Power Talk with Fikile Ndlozi, 9 a.m. to midday, taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
Okay, Bantwana Benkosi, we are still with Comrade Vota, the SG of the ANC. How did this name come about, by the way?
No, we were running away, we were going into hiding in my township in Botshabelo. I was with Tsietsi Stoner and Zoli Lelobi. And then where we were sleeping, running away, our hideout, there was like a state of emergency, so there were soldiers everywhere in the street, and it was dark at night. And so we're knocking at the door at night, around 12 midnight, and then the woman inside was going to open for us. It was a lady. It was a student at our school. And so we're hiding at a place and at home. And then they asked, "Who is it?" I said, "Vota." and then because I couldn't say Fikile and so on, because these people were just here.
They're about to look for you.
No, they were looking, and all of that, and so it sticked. But two, it became Vota because from how I speak and galvanizing and mobilizing, comrades then took it from the hideout to the streets, and that was it.
So let's go to the GNU. I'll come back to those circumstances. They're interesting to me for a different question around where you are today.
Yeah.
But has the NEC ever taken a decision that the government of national unity is not working for the ANC, specifically the DA, and that it ought to reconfigure the GNU, maybe go for a minority government, since the budget was passed along those lines? And if the ANC did take this decision, why has it not materialized?
GNU is a very important, which must be studied when the ANC faced with the difficulty, why this decision was taken by the ANC. But to explain it to you, it's a tactical maneuver. And I'm not at liberty to explain thoroughly. But students and everybody else can analyze it, either for or against. Because the ANC was faced with a difficult situation of a 40% party, and you had to answer the strategic question: what do you do with your 40% in order to advance still the NDR, which has suffered what they characterize as a strategic setback. So GNU became the answer. There was no way minority government was going to safeguard us with this 60%, 40%. It will just lead us to total obliteration. If I can tell you that one leader of the opposition said, give the ANC the option of the minority government. They like blue lights and all of that. They will jump into it. And they were shocked. We didn't. Because to us, it has not always been about blue lights, which we could, and run government. The most important question was that the moment we are in have called for us to share power. And how are we going to share power, and with who? And therefore, we then open it up with everybody.
But ultimately,
because at the end, the principled stance of the ANC was people's interest at the end.
No, I'm not asking about initially.
Not people's interest only, but national interest.
No, I mean not initially. You have had problems with the DA. They are not small problems.
Yeah.
The DA is campaigning from within the GNU against the GNU. You have had these problems, the budget, several legislations that they are challenging. It is in cahoots, for instance, with forces in the US that seemingly are cooking regime change in South Africa in the Trump administration. You have a big problem called the Democratic Alliance. Hasn't the NEC said recently to look into this problem? What do we do? The DA left us hanging on the budget vote.
You've got to understand.
Have you decided?
Yeah.
That's my question, really. Hasn't the NEC recently taken a decision to reconfigure the GNU in favor of a minority government? Because in any way, when push comes to shove, you have had to use minorities.
There's no such. Reconfigure, there is nothing like reconfigure in favor of minority government. That will be disastrous for a party of 40%. It will be disastrous.
In what way? Because you passed the budget without the DA.
No, we didn't pass the budget without the DA. We passed the budget with the DA.
Initially, SG, they took you to court.
Yeah.
The budget was passed without the
It was
DA,
not.
MK,
It was
and
not
EFF.
the budget. It was the framework. From
Yes.
from the budget, you've got to move to appropriation.
Agreed.
If you didn't pass the appropriation bill, it will mean that government collapses.
But they
Yes.
didn't support you. They
What?
voted against the framework, what you are calling the
They
framework, the
voted against
appropriation
the framework.
bill.
They voted for the appropriation bill
In the
later
end.
on.
But-
and that is why
But the
we're
first
able
one
to.
where they collapsed it in court or through court, you passed it in the House without them.
That was meaningless, Ndlozi. It's like claiming easy victories. The fact of the matter is that with 40%, that's what I'm characterizing, you cannot advance in reality whatever you used to without others. That is the fundamental
Minority
question.
government means you marshal enough political parties to be at 54, 53%. You got this percentage with Action SA that was willing to stand with you. You didn't need the massive numbers of this animal which is sabotaging you from within.
With Action SA and everybody else, we were not going to be able to pass the appropriation bill without the Democratic Alliance. And that is not the issue you are asking.
But the appropriation bill
That is not-
requires 50 plus 1%.
No, that is not the question you are asking, by the way. The question you are asking is, are we in cahoots with the DA and knowing very well what they stand for? We are not.
No. I'm asking if you have recently decided to reconfigure the GNU.
Yes, I was dealing with that. Reconfiguration means resetting the button.
Yes.
How do you deal with the challenges that you've got and within the GNU, and also avoid what nearly happened with the failure to pass the budget that could have led to the collapse of government. That is what reconfiguration means. In reality, what it means is that resetting the button, and at the same time, how do you still continue to safeguard power without gravitating to complete collapse?
In terms of your numbers on the floor, 50 plus 1%, which is a simple majority, is what you require for majority of those decisions in Parliament. With Action SA and the rest of the partners that stood with you, you don't need the DA. But maybe to advance it further, you mentioned recently that you went to the USA, and there in the USA there was a very strong view, which is similar to the recent campaign of the DA about black economic empowerment. The US administration, or some in the US administration, when you were there, pushed very strongly that you have to drop these policies. That's another instance of the Democratic Alliance. It's not just a South African dispute where South Africans are trying to figure out this or that policy. They are also working with a foreign power that is very powerful, and they're sitting with you inside cabinet. My question is, isn't resetting the button looking for someone other than a person with those characteristics?
We have acted on that. The president have acted on that, where a deputy minister goes outside from the DA without permission of the president. What he was doing there is something else. The question before us is that, how do you safeguard power with 40% in a government in which you don't have a majority? And that is what the ANC had to answer. And we had to look at national interest. How do you bring stability? Within 40 days, government was created. And it's a give and take. And so the over-exaggerated influence of the DA in the government of national unity, I think it's a matter that must also be examined carefully, because they are still in struggle, and they never came into GNU as a melting pot. They came in with their identity and their ideas. And when they come in, then they still meet transformation, of which they are anti-transformation inside. So that's the nature of our governance that we have now, but we still are able to have a stable government and things running properly. So we are not threatened by the DA, and we are confident that we will be in a position to do a whole lot of other things in this arrangement and working with others as well.
The US, your trip in the US, are you able to take us into confidence? What was the objective of your visit in the United States? Does South Africa still have friends? There's a Congress bill that seemed to be gaining momentum, which is going to ban the leadership of the ANC and possibly give them some form of individual sanctions. What was your purpose there? And does South Africa, in particular the ANC, still have friends to push back against the agenda of the Trump administration?
Between 1986 and 1987, the United States, led by the conservatives, the Republicans, characterized the ANC as a terrorist organization and declared our struggle a terrorist struggle. Oliver Tambo went to the White House and met with leaders, not before the cameras, and explained to the Republicans that they are wrong in their assertion. By the way, Bozeli, who's going to be an ambassador if it's going to happen here in South Africa, sent by Donald Trump, was one of the proponents at that time who was actually pursuing that line, that we're a terrorist organization. Now, it is not the ANC, it is our country that it is said to be involved in a genocide. So we've got to engage with Americans from all pockets of power inside the White House and everybody else, and that is what we're doing, including talking to our friends in the United States who are in the anti-apartheid movement as you would have seen Jesse Jackson and everybody else starting to talk that there's no genocide here in South Africa. And even ordinary Americans saying that this is madness and all of that. So there are South Africans who were born here in South Africa, who some of them are inside the White House, who carried this thing to the President of the United States. And there are South Africans who are outside the White House, who are in the pockets of the state and others outside.
Like Elon Musk?
Yeah, like Elon Musk and all of that, who said that this. And one of the things that they said is that we are passing laws that are racial and all of that. So BE they mentioned, affirmative action they mentioned. Why do we need such laws? You've got people like Gary Player, who basically just the other day said that why do you still need triple BE? And when there are checks all over and all of that. This is the person who for the rest of his life have been a beneficiary of a system that oppressed our people with all his golfing skills. I admire the old man, I like him and all of that when as Minister of Sports.
You like racist SG?
No, no, I like.
I mean, he's working
I like the
so hard
no, I like,
to undermine
the democratic
mission.
state.
Yes.
I like the sport that he plays and how he plays it, but it doesn't remove the fact that he is anti-transformation. I won't move quickly to say he's a racist because that on its own, it's another discussion. But anti-transformation, he is. He has not given himself time to understand that 30 years into democracy, inequality in our country has actually deepened. And if we've got to implement laws, let's take land, which is one thing in terms of amending Section 25 of the Constitution for land redistribution, this country will collapse. If you want to see white people running in their numbers out of this country to United States, redistribute the land. And then this country will turn into rubbles like Zimbabwe.
So
Zimbabwe, Mugabe,
there
what he did.
There mustn't be land redistribution.
There will be land redistribution. That struggle, my friend, is with me and you. And they are going to run away from this country. Because of when we do things with our power and majority, which we don't have right now, and the DA is there to push back that from happening, they are going to run. They are going to take their money and go. There's going to be capital flight and everything. Today, we think we are totally liberated. We are not. Because the power of the economy is not only in the hands of the few. You press one button, what happens in the bond market? This thing will be gone. Zuma reshuffled a minister whom he has made now a chief whip in parliament for weekend special. And ask him a question, Zuma. Zuma, who goes around, call himself a revolutionary, a great leader. He meets Traore and then and all of that, is a great leader. Ask him a very important question. Ask him to come to the show. Ask him, why did you reverse the decision of weekend special and went to fetch Pravin Gordhan? Why did you do that? Because you are the most militant, advancing leader of the free, Africa and all of that. Why did you reverse that decision? It's because we are transforming this economy within a capitalist mode of production. And that mode of production is not in favor of the poor. When Mbeki said that South Africa is a country of two worlds, they attacked him. That is mad. This Mbeki they praise now. That is the best president we've ever had. Go to the books and history and read and Google. Mbeki talking about South Africa and the two worlds. A country in one, with two worlds in it. Who attacked Thabo Mbeki about that and said that he's actually deranged. They used the word deranged.
Yes.
And then Jacob Zuma.
But you don't want to be confused as due to being land redistribution cannot be pursued because we are scared white people are going to
No,
leave?
it must be.
Okay.
The question is, when we get our majority, what are we going to do about it? We did have our majority, 2/3, and we're supposed to advance. The agenda of regime change doesn't arise because of Ramaphosa is the president of the country now and Mbalula and everybody else. It is ever present. It's not going to change. And they will continue with that agenda, and the DA is a mouthpiece, not only, but the stumbling block and to getting rid of this particular ANC bit by bit. Now, the question is, when we get our majority back, what are we going to do about it?
Will you get it with the DA that is doing all of this right next to your hip?
We will get it because our people have not gone to the DA and they don't believe in the DA. The DA is not expanding as a party. It has actually saturated. And it has tried everything, including getting a black like me and many others to be at the helm of that particular political party in order to gain the majority. They've used Musi Maimani, they've used everybody, up until they went back to who they are. Because Freedom Front was knocking in the doorstep. For the first time when they tried to erode the base of the black masses of this country, the DA lost numbers. And Helen Zille had to come back. On his way out, she had to shut the door and come back. And then Musi Maimani and them were put into the streets. And then that's where it is. So they will never, at best, our people will stay away from us. And that is what is the existential threat we are facing. And our people, why will they stay away from us? They will stay away from us because when we are given power, what do we do about it? Do we look like a furniture? Do we represent their interest? So that when we are under attack, they should be with us. If the loaf of bread is going to be 500 rands because of land redistribution, will our people be with us in the streets or on the other side supporting counter-revolution? That is the fundamental question you must answer. Because as I'm talking to you right now, if the price of bread, because of the policies we pass, is going to change over time to be 500 like Zimbabwe, where will these people of South Africa run to? Zimbabweans are running to us here. Tina, we are facing the seaport. We've got nowhere to run. Tina, we've got no other country to run to. These masses of our people, if they are not prepared for that struggle, they will rebel. So I am saying, do something. And Bayayazi, Mbeki is correct. Former president is correct when he says we're infiltrated. But also counter-revolution knew apho bazawusibamba khona sibancinci khona. Basibambe phi? Basibambe nge-economy bhuti. That's where it is.
But SG, I hear all of that, but maybe you do want to say, then how do we get the land to represent the demographics of South Africa in terms of ownership? With all these fears that you are putting, it sounds like you're saying the ANC is in a corner, helpless, it doesn't know what to do.
We are not in a corner. The ANC is a struggling organization, is a fighting organization. The real weapon at the disposal of the masses, of our people. So, and therefore, the question is, if the ANC were to be wiped out, like it happened in Grenada with another liberation movement, and all of that, wiped out, which is what they want. Which is what they want. The question is, this NTR we talk about and people don't understand what is it about. It will not be on a reversal. It will mean that our struggle and our hopes are gone. So that's why we can't allow corruption to become a defining feature of the liberation movement. Because we will fall faster than we would have imagined. Because what they said in 1994, except that they said we'll force faster, like Mbeki said, they said, we know we'll expose them to these mega resources of the state. They will fight and trip over them, which is what is called tenders. But umnoto, the real one, will be with us. Let them fight with tenders, 2 billion and all of that, and get corrupt, produce bureaucratic bourgeoisies. They are not even bourgeoisies. These people, you call them tenderpreneurs. They are not. But they are coming out of the system that we have been in charge of. And that is what we must fight decisively. If we don't, this revolution will not just be on reversal, will be annihilated. And this vehicle, the ANC, its disappearance in the political landscape, the key question, will you have another ANC to build, to pursue this particular struggle? It will be very difficult to do that. So that's why we say renew or perish. So we must draw the line.
Yes.
And that is what we need to do.
I'm going to take calls after the headlines, but two things I'd like to think about during the break. The first one is this ANC facing local government elections in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. Is there a way to recover in these provinces? And then the second one, I'd like to return to the question that we started with initially. Why would Comrade Vuta be scared by Brown Mokgotsi? Let's take the news and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Stay tuned, Bandana Venkosi.
All right, okay.
Good morning. In newsmaking headlines, proceedings have entered day 26 at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry into alleged criminality and political interference within the criminal justice system at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria. Testifying today is Ekurhuleni Chief of Police Jabulani Mapieye. Mapieye has begun his testimony by outlining his professional background and qualifications.
1983 to 2002, I was a traffic officer in the Greater Benoni. Having have served in various ranks as a young officer when I joined in 1983, I have been through all the ranks of the traffic fraternity until I became an assistant traffic chief in Benoni.
Meanwhile, Crime Intelligence Head Dumisani Khumalo concluded his testimony yesterday. His evidence focused primarily on the work of the now disbanded Political Killings Task Team. And in other news, the head of the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, Senior Counsel Andrea Johnson, has taken the stand before Parliament's ad hoc committee. This after Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia concluded his testimony before a committee that's probing allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Ndlozi Khwanazi. Johnson's testimony will focus on whether the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption unlawfully interfered in police investigations or exceeded its mandate, amongst others. Evidence leader, Advocate Norman Aronson, expands on Johnson's testimony.
We are hoping that during the course of your testimony you can assist us on at least the 121 case dockets and the relationship between IDAC and the PKTT, and then item 4.1.18, which is to scrutinize the interagency coordination among SEPs, Crime Intelligence, IDAC/the NPA, Correctional Services, Metro Police, and the legal basis for the directives affecting the PKTT, which is a latter part of that terms of reference.
I'll have more on these and other stories at the top of the hour.
Power Lunch with Kwena Marara Mwabelo.
What are the correct steps to take at the roadblock and maybe immediately after?
It is completely legal in South Africa for you to record them and not to tell them. You don't have to tell them you're recording to them. We are a one-party state where one of the people can give permission for recording and you are giving permission because you are involved. An audio recording is enough. Put your phone on audio recording, put it on your pocket. You don't have to tell them and they don't have to know that you're recording them, but you should be.
Stan Bezuidenhout, who is the road traffic risk specialist.
Power Lunch, weekdays 12 to 3 p.m. on Power 98.7.
Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an ABSA business credit card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. ABSA, your story matters.
I'm Samela Kelboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Increase the health promotion levy on sugary drinks. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
Speak up. Call the Power Line on 0861 987 000.
Welcome back, Bantwana Benkosi. We are still with the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Voter. SG will come to Brown and the Gangsters. You are non-existent by all historical measure at this moment in KwaZulu-Natal. You've never, I mean, even in the worst days of war, guns and everything, you never got what you got in KZN. How exactly are you going to recover? I mean, will the ANC move from the teens, maybe to the 20s, maybe to the 30s in these local government elections? KZN first. We'll come to urban South Africa.
In the last elections of local government, we got 46% overall. In KZN, I must recall how much we got, but we lost all the municipalities, including eThekwini. Jacob Zuma was there campaigning with us. And we lost to who? To the IFP. So when we went to the last election, our biggest challenge was...
Why do you rule out the EFF in that dissipation? 2021, the EFF did very well.
Yeah, the EFF did very well in KZN. And they even expanded in the rural KZN.
Yes.
Where...
And I was there.
You were there campaigning and all of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the point is that JZ was with you.
Yes, it was
when
with us.
KZN actually, the ANC went to 46%.
When we went to 46%, he was with us, and we lost to the IFP.
Yes.
The IFP was now on the recovery in KZN because the IFP had lost to almost zero out of power because of the split with the NFP. So we are exactly where the IFP was when the NFP came with Magwaza. Because Magwaza was very strong, national chair of the IFP. May her soul rest in peace. She was very strong, the NFP. And then, unfortunately, stroke visited her, and then she passed on. So IFP got weakened, and we were strengthened as a party. And then there was a JZ plus in relation to that. But in the last election, we almost got decimated. And that's when I remember I went to KZN with Gwede Mantashe, Paul
You were the head of elections at that time.
Yes. Myself and Nkekekana were meeting with Sihle Zigalala and the team of the PC, and they dismissed some of the interventions we wanted to do there. Correctly so. Because they are revolutionaries, they are comrades on the ground, and they disagreed with some of the things that the IFP said we should do in the negotiations. I remember that. It depends on what we do, not on what we do to look at Jacob Zuma.
It looks like you're
and the
saying you
IFP.
need a Zanele Magwaza of the MKP, because IFP never really did achieve like 46, 44% of the electorate in KZN in its entire life. This is the ginormous problem of MKP. By the logic, the structure that you've just outlined, it looks like you need a Zanele Magwaza to weaken
Yeah, you are
MKP.
asking. The politics of KwaZulu-Natal, you need to understand them correctly. And you need to understand the constituencies proper. They follow organizations, but they also follow personalities. So the question, you may be right, you need Zanele Magwaza, but as and how it presents itself at the current moment is going to be important for the ANC. How it, reorganize itself with the aim of coming back in big numbers in KwaZulu-Natal.
Could that character of colorful personality be the former Minister of Police, Bekicele, like to sort of fight back for you in KZN? Because, I mean, at the moment, with all due respect, you've got some Madala there, Jeff Khatebe, a very decent old man, won't say radical things, just decent chap, shame. You need a bulldozer of a colorful, don't you?
We are going to do that. We are not sleeping.
Okay.
We have been in the program of rebuilding our structures. It has got its teeth in problems. We have to be decisive, and we are going to be decisive going forward in KZN. But, people have not lost hope in the ANC, in KwaZulu-Natal, as you would have seen in the by-elections that have taken place there. Of course, you are facing a mountain there, but at the end of the day, we still believe that we are a very important party among the constituency of KwaZulu-Natal, and we do have leadership that can take us forward in that province.
You know, SG, you were a fierce, if I have read the history properly, and I lived very close to some people that were very close to you on both ends. If there's a person who actually made the campaign of Jacob Zuma, is you for 2007. Do you sometimes sit alone and say, "Taphanze ndayibulala ANC"?
No.
I mean, this chap presides over the ANC. In that period, the Youth League is decimated. COSATU split into different parts. The Women's League, the state institutions, then opens a party. In the middle of that opening party, goes to Morocco and associates himself against progressive forces.
Yeah.
Don't you sit somewhere and say, Jesus, as a president of the Youth League, taphanze ndayibulala ANC?
No, the decisions of the Youth League were principled. Our caravan of 2007 was joined by the wounded and people who had their own challenges with President Mbeki. Ours was a succession, and I don't regret that, and I won't apologize for that. You will never know a person up until you give them responsibilities. We didn't know Zuma, we as the young, except that there are people in the ANC, Zola Skweyi I can mention because he's no more. He used to say to me, "Awumazi uZuma kwedini. uZuma uzayibulala ANC." But Zola used to say that to me. I used to sit with him in the ANC and WC. And then umbuze thina abantu abavele exile. And I used to ask Joel when he was differing with me in the NWC, "Did you have issues with Zuma? Were you arrested in Quattro? What happened?" He says, "No, you don't understand. There's no way." But they were also dogmatic, some of them, and majority of them, next to President Mbeki, because if they loved the movement so much, they should have said that, fine. We disagree with Zuma. We're not going to dig in on Mbeki. We will give you an alternative candidate.
You would have changed.
I think they would have won. And then this thing was just reduced to Zuma Mbeki. And yet, on our part, it was not fighting Mbeki because Mbeki was going. It's like President Ramaphosa wake up tomorrow and say, "Hey, Matot, I'm ready for that term." There's somebody there who's going to say, "What?"
Would that somebody be yourself?
No, I mean, I'm saying somebody. I'm in a position of responsibility now. And you know, I've graduated.
People are calling your name as the next president.
No, I mean...
I calculated you are the first SG since Oliver Tambo, essentially, to have been the Secretary General of the Youth League, to being the President of the Youth League, and now the Secretary General of the ANC. I mean, by that measure, your path is that, you know, since Cyril is done.
These things, Mashapa, who was the former president of SASCO and SANSCO, used to say these things are not hereditary. You know, and that's why I learned. I mean, it's not hereditary that what happened with Mandela and Oliver Tambo will happen to me.
So you're not available.
So it will actually happen to me. It's not hereditary. The fact of the matter is that how we look at issues of leadership, it's a matter that the organization need to sober up, given even the moment we are in as a party. And that is what we will be ready to deal
So
with.
let's come to Gauteng. The urban populations have been rejecting the ANC since 2016. And you've got chaps that, the generation, or the chaps that have been in charge since 2016, pinning hope on them. They don't seem to be getting it right. Panyaza, Lebu, and all of them. Since 2016, it's been a free fall. And it finally put you in a worse state of affairs in 2024. Can the ANC recover in Gauteng?
The ANC can recover in Gauteng.
What would the plan be? The DA is bringing Magogo in Johannesburg. And then you've got Dada Man there saying, I mean, Magogo, Dada Man.
The party that is self-respecting like the ANC, you've got to go deeper to analyze what will it take for you to win back the majority in Johannesburg and many other areas. You can see what others are planning. It's up to you if they set an agenda for you and you go into it. And therefore, you know that if you go into that without thinking, you've been set a trap and an agenda, you go into it, and that's how you collapse. I believe that the ANC, out of this coalition in Johannesburg and so on, have got a lot to offer in Johannesburg.
Than the rest of everyone.
To put up a reasonable and a decent campaign to win decisively, because it's one thing that has been eluding us. We've been winning, but not decisively. Elections in Johannesburg. If anything, what is before us, which is a danger of existential crisis, is that if we don't do better, it means we will go down.
What then? Maybe I conclude with this one. What's scaring you about Brown Mokhodzi? I mean, I didn't. A whole comrade voter, a Secretary General, wakitima wa ya court ulo tiba ga ono Mokhodzi. What's scary about this chap? I mean, the allegations, let me qualify it, have been there forever, SG, about your involvement in Botswana's death and all of those things have always been there. What about them resurfacing through the mouth of Brown Mokhodzi propels you to say, I'm in danger? I couldn't believe it when I read that.
I'm in danger is an exaggeration of a headline, you know, and that I'm in danger is put into context. That you're setting me up basically, against people who have lost their loved one, and who somebody can just take an action against me on the basis of that, or otherwise, people would just want to get to me, and they're using this as a scapegoat, and that could be the case. So the issue of this matter is just frivolous. There's no truth into it. We'll wait and see in court whether there's anything that anyone can say. I've been there before, because nothing was said or tested in a court of law around those particular issues. Besides, Botswana was my personal friend. And so these thugs and everybody else, whenever they run out of ideas, they talk about this thing, and it's really painful to me. I buried Botswana. He was killed brutally by criminals. I became a minister of police, and I know the work that Ria Pierre did, brilliant work with a group of police officers in Gauteng to chase and find those criminals and put them behind the bars. But still, we are looking for the person who instructed them. And so for them to play around that, and those that I was chasing in the police, for good reasons, they went to try and turn this thing around. You know, I dealt with a lot of thugs there in the police, and I cleaned them for once. You can mention them. Tlemeza was an Achilles heel for many and a headache. I put him in his place. And then thereafter, many things unfolded and so on, many, as a way of fight back. But I was able to deal with those matters. So there is no point except to fight for my rights and the vilification by somebody whom I don't have high regard for. So that's it.
I'm going to take calls, and they've graced us to give us an additional 20 minutes into Power Lunch. So don't, Bantwana Benkosi, be dismayed. We're going to take all your calls. Let's start with Sillo in Centurion. 1 minute, one person. Actually, 30 seconds, one person. Sillo, 30 seconds starts now.
Dr. Ndlozi, thanks for taking my call. Thanks, SG. SG, why is it sometimes you can't be a father and go get drunk, and when you get back, you abuse your kids, and when the wife and the kids disrespect you, and you start saying, no, people are disrespecting me. The reason why ANC is where it is today with this GNU is because you guys forgot the people that voted for you and started thinking now you can start behaving like slave queens. We cannot have that. I mean, right now you guys are not dealing with the CR17 files, yet you are talking about infiltration. Open those files and you will find what infiltration is. Look at SAPS now, what we are dealing with. Let's deal with issues that are real here, and let's be realistic towards each other if you guys want our votes back in your hands. Thanks, SG.
Thank you. And then we're going to take Milton in Hatfield. 30 seconds starts now, Milton.
Thanks, Dr. Ndlozi. Also, welcome to the SG. The SG, I become very concerned when I hear you speak about the land issue now, saying that this is an issue that has to be addressed by the next generation. Because first of all, when you created policies, especially policies that has to do with transformation, land was the focus area of which you wanted to be able to expropriate. But now you are saying that there is an issue for another day. Because let me put it to you right now, when you talk about capital flight, the whole purpose of creating BEE was to be able to create a group of entrepreneurs who will be able to sustain the South African economy when we get to a point of repossessing the land, so that capital flight happens, but we will still be protected. Because that is why the apartheid infrastructure was sustained, because they created entrepreneurs who were able to create jobs. But now what BEE has created, instead of creating jobs, we have created people who just buy cars and don't think about the fortunes of this country.
Thank you very much.
What is the plan? So what is the plan then, SG, if you are saying that you can't expropriate land? Because land is the cornerstone of wealth creation.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Milton there. KD got Deep Kloof.
Doctor and the Secretary General, thank you. From what you were saying, Tagombek, and what he is saying, what is true is that it's more possible now for him to be half honest and appear honest in other issues. But at the core is this. If the ANC as an organization had been true to its principles and used what they gained from apartheid, utilized it effectively, it would not be in this situation today. And the issue now is that the ANC should invest in human capital who is going to be able to be what it is originally planned to be.
Okay, thank you, KD. The SG is going to deal with that. Let's go to Ephraim or Alex.
Dr. Ndlozi, thank you very much. SG, I'm very disappointed now. I wish I can cry. When you talk, you think about we can vote ANC again. That will never happen. ANC destroyed this country from heaven and earth. Where is our ESCOM? Where is Telcom? Where are the buildings? I'm from a place called Marachani in Mpumalanga. We were having Marachani College. If you go there, we used to have the functions, our trumpets, all those things. You can cry when I see that. Pardon?
Maybe that's the reason college collapsed.
You know the college, Mr. Ndlozi, it used to host the functions, like music functions I'm talking about. So we didn't have anything. We have it have a big hall. About 90s, 80s. So I need to come again to that one. He says he delivered in police. In transport, as he was a minister, he failed us. I'm an e-hailer. I'm trying to have a living and trying to be an entrepreneur. But because he was a minister of transport, he failed to regulate e-hailing. Uber and Bolt are here, milking our country, milking us in front of them as the ANC. So he mustn't come and tell us about ANC today.
Okay.
Forget about it. It's dead. It will be buried. Thank you very much.
Hey, Ephraim. Let's take the last one. Hosea Mabupan.
Dr. Ndlozi.
Yes, sir.
SG. SG, please take the people on the ground serious and discipline your members. You can't tell us bare roha when we have to engage with them. They don't want to even talk to us. There's a canteller here more 20 more ya to say Mabupani or then you think us we're gonna vote for ANC? No, we are not fools. We are not fools, and we are done with ANC. If they don't take us serious, we are done with them. We are done.
Okay, Osaya SG will definitely respond. I'm taking the last one. Silo. Usilo Ulele. Mandieku. Sam in Rosebank. Welcome to Power Talk.
Doc, SG, please, the country, you can see what's happening and you know what happened. I'm glad you did mention that you ANC trying to manage the GNU because these whites, they will collapse this country. I agree with you. I hope when the ANC get power, we must go back to the CIC, the MK, you guys must regroup. We need to take the land. Traore has shown you guys that we can do it ourselves. Thank you.
Okay. That's finally Angela. Hello, Angela.
I think if even now the SG is not awake, like the president who's always shocked by the results of the votings, let them wait for the local elections. ANC must be uprooted. We can't have a party for 30 years that we've been persevering, trying to manage, trying to persevere, to rule. And people like Smart Ngonyama, they've been publicly known saying they went to exile, they went to politics for enrichment. Now they are blaming the same colonialism, they blame the same apartheid of holding them economically. I'm talking about billions that have been looted by ANC members. If they cry of infiltration, how were they infiltrated as cadres of ANC? I saw we South Africa can show their votes, all of them in the local elections. We must uproot these people. We don't need them. We can't be fall for the rest of Africa. We can't with ANC. Let's give other people who are capable to rule a chance.
Thank you.
They are incapacitated. They are drunk with power. That's what is happening.
All right, Angela, thank you so much. It's 11:59 and Kwena has given us the grace, SG, to use the next 20 minutes into Power Lunch to deal with what I think is a lot of frustration on the ground. But Comrade Vota is here. Stay tuned, Bantwana Benkosi, and we want to also again repeat those special gratitudes to the Power Lunch team for allowing us to eat into their time. We're going to take the news elsewhere, and the SG will deal with all those grievances. Stay tuned.
Power News.
Top stories this hour. Ekurhuleni Metro Police Chief Jabulani Mapieya has told the Madlanga Commission that the powers of municipal police services are not equivalent to those of the SAPS. Meanwhile, the head of Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, and Advocate Andrea Johnson, has taken the stand before Parliament's ad hoc committee. A very good afternoon. With the news at midday, I'm Wonga Ndopu. As Ekurhuleni Metro Police Chief Jabulani Mapieya continues to give evidence before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, he has told the Commission that the powers of the municipal police services are not equivalent to those of the SAPS. He explains that Metro Police officers do not have the authority to conduct investigations. In his testimony, he also outlined the organizational structure of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department and detailed the functions and powers of municipal police services.
Whereas SAPS members have the power to investigate crime and criminal activity, the municipal police service members do not have those powers. They may not initiate nor conduct investigation into any alleged crime. When the municipal police learn of a crime, they must report the same to the local police station.
The head of the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, Advocate Andrea Johnson, has taken the stand before Parliament's ad hoc committee. This after Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia concluded his testimony before the committee that's probing allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Ndlozi Mkhwanazi. Johnson's testimony focuses on whether the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption unlawfully interfered in police investigations or exceeded its mandate, amongst others. Evidence leader Advocate Norman Aronser expands on Johnson's testimony.
We're hoping that during the course of your testimony you can assist us on at least the 121 case dockets and the relationship between IDAC and the PKTT, and then item 4.1.18, which is to scrutinize the interagency coordination among SEPS, Crime Intelligence, IDAC, / the NPA, Correctional Services, Metro Police, and the legal basis for the directives affecting the PKTT, which is a latter part of that terms of reference.
The bail amendment matter of Crime Intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo has resumed in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. Khumalo is seeking adjustments to his bail conditions, which currently prohibit him from entering crime intelligence offices and from communicating with certain witnesses. He was arrested in June 2025 on allegations of fraud, corruption and misconduct. Earlier this year, proceedings in the bail amendment hearing were delayed after the presiding magistrate recused himself, citing his involvement with the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Presenting his argument before the court earlier today, the lawyer representing Khumalo's co-accused made these remarks.
First and foremost, we are saying, in terms of legal principles, whatever review that they lodge doesn't have any bearing to the Section 63 application. What the state is effectively doing is tantamount to refusing the accused access to the court. The accused have their right to bring the application in terms of Section 63. And if the state is of the view that the review that they intend to bring has a bearing on the Section 63 application, the alternative route would have been for the state to approach the High Court and suspend the Section 63 application.
The C20, which is an engagement group for civil society under the G20, says working groups were able to develop policy proposals for global leaders at the summit later this month. Chairperson of the C20, Thulani Chefuta, says a policy pack has now been put together. The C20 is holding a media briefing in Pretoria today ahead of the G20 Social Summit next week. Chafuta says the C20 was able to bring together highly competent individuals and has been inclusive in its deliberations.
Our working groups worked tirelessly to produce those policy briefs, which policy briefs were then consolidated into a policy pack. And that policy pack has been summarized into a declaration which has consistent messaging.
Taking a look at your financial indicators, the rand is trading at 17.49 to the US dollar, 22.81 to the pound, and 20.09 to the euro. Gold's trading at $3,964.45 a fine ounce, and Brent crude oil is at $65.59 a barrel. Recapping the top story in Power News at this hour. Ekurhuleni Metro Police Chief Jabulani Mapieye has told the Matlanga Commission that the powers of the municipal police services are not equivalent to those of the SAPS.
Power News. On FM, online, and DSTV channel 889. This is Power 98.7.
This is Power 98.7. And now you're listening to Power Talk with Fikile Ndlozi, 9 a.m. to midday, taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
Welcome back. We're still with the SG of the ANC, the Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula. And we took a couple of your calls. I don't want us to take any further time into Power Lunch, SG, but a lot of very strong feelings and frustration on the ANC. And maybe as you deal with them, you want to shed light on precisely in what forms is the ANC as well intervening against people who are not delivering services. And I'll give an example because I thought that was going to be a trend. The Free State ANC dismissing people on the basis of the fact that they are not delivering. Not step aside. But that you've got a mandate, you must achieve it by such and such a time. You are not meeting targets. But also you have got these expenditure items that are dramatic. To rebuild this confidence, we're going to put you aside, put competent, integral people. I don't know if you want to speak to that. That there is something, I mean, it happened in the Free State. It seems isolated. It looks like something you do want to elevate because it is uncharacteristic.
Doctor, thank you. I think some of the reflections need to be qualified in a sense because when you make a sweeping statement that these people must go, you will forget everything else of what is happening around us, and you will take that as the viewpoint of South Africa as a whole. And yet there are so many things that have happened around us executed by the ANC which you cannot justify by simply over defense. You can start from 1994 up to date, even with empirical evidence in comparison to apartheid, that apartheid did so much harm, and therefore we, even with the challenges of inheriting what apartheid's harm has done, we have been able to move forward. And of course, deep in the years of the democratic dispensation, we have indeed veered away, and then we are on our way back. And there are also global factors in relation to the challenges that we face that have had an impact on smooth sailing of the economy. But for us to be realistic, a party has got to be a party that gets to be elected for what it does, but at the same time address the believability. To me, when I listen to some of the callers, it means that the believability story of the ANC has not reached some of the people in terms of the change and the renewal project. For instance, if you take somebody who simply says that you ANC, you are like Smart Ngonyama, who said the following things and all of that, and then somebody talks about BE and triple BE and that BE was meant to create jobs. BE and triple BE was meant to address redress in our country. And at the same time, it was broadened in order to affect everybody. And the ANC have always believed the biggest intervention of this BE is about uplifting the small, medium enterprises, and which is very much fundamental in the economy we are basically talking about. The fact of the matter is that this economy, even with that BE, is nothing near to what apartheid has created in this capitalist system we live in. And the reality of the matter is that we want to expropriate land without compensation, without asking. The question I posed is that today, if we were to be given a majority, will our people be with us when we address this compensation? I mean, this land redistribution program without compensation, if we were to be under attack, will they be ready to be with us in that path compared to Zimbabwe? South Africa is full of people from Zimbabwe because Mugabe there, after 10 years, to basically accelerate a program of land redistribution, something they call land grabs. If we were to do that here in South Africa today, in this economy that we are in, and basically address the question of land appropriation, will the masses be with you when you do this thing the manner in which we want to do it? Because that's when you will see capital flight. And I've said it, and I put my head on the block, that Donald Trump can call whites to America today and say, come here, I've got shelter for you. They won't go. They won't go. But the day we deal with land expropriation without compensation, you'll see them running out of the airport and this country's economy collapsing and then turned into rubbles. And the price of bread that time will be 1,000 rand, and the masses will stand up against you to say this government brought misery to us. Today, we have done all these things that people don't want to talk about and that this government have done. Interventions in terms of basic needs. You can mention that. Water and electricity. The fact of the matter is that today we are in Johannesburg, me and you, but Johannesburg does not have land to give to people for settlement. And what we do about that is because of urbanization. Many people are coming here and we've got to provide ablutions and everything wherever these people actually settle. All of those particular challenges must be addressed by the democratic state. But over and above that, RDP houses are built every day in our country. And free water is being rolled out to our people every day. Free electricity, to a certain extent, is being rolled out with challenges that you may have that we're overcoming of load shedding and all of that. But why will people still say there's nothing happening around us, and others with the voices that they have of criticism will say that I don't see any change, and then I don't see any impact of this democratic state on my life? You will say that if you are in the category of the black middle strata, you can afford to have a car, to have a job, to go to work, but a person who has got nothing and who has actually benefited from this intervention will have a story to tell. So the question is, how do we work with everybody and at the same time, to not that people are not aware of what the ANC has done, but at the same time to ensure that we as a party and our government will continue with this good work that we are doing for our people.
Earlier you identified ideological dissipation as part of these challenging facing the renewal of the ANC. The Minister of Finance was saying perhaps the constitution should be amended, that South Africa doesn't belong to all who live in it. And the ANC seemed not to say anything. And that was, in essence, not so much to say complete sentence, black and white, because that's what the sentence addresses. But it was mobilizing that to basically attack or criticize the ANC Africa policy, that South Africa doesn't belong to all who live in it. All these people from the rest of the continent should be coming here because we don't have enough resources to be with them. Can I take you there, SG? ANC and the continent. Those statements by a sitting Minister of Finance seem to be supporting very, very strong sentiments that are seemingly even getting organized around Dudula and all of that, that chase these Africans away.
First, let's understand Africans who are here in our country. And then South Africa, landlocked with Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini, and then those countries and their citizens have long been here before apartheid was done away with, first as cheap migrant labor in the mines. And that is why Istimel by Yuma Sigel, Samalal, and all of that are and therefore
it starts in Dalgoa Bay, Mozambique.
Exactly,
yes.
In Mozambique to here. So look at that song and understand where and how these people came here to the city of gold, looking for, greener pastures. Now, it was worsened by the fact that when the economies next door collapsed, then they came through our porous borders into our country. They didn't now have to ask for permission via Beit Bridge. They came walking, defying even death among crocodiles to come into our country. Zimbabwe was a breadbasket of the African continent. Zimbabweans didn't have to come here. The economy was flourishing. The economy was good, but the economy was not good for Africans. When Mugabe said, let the economy be good for Africans, and all of us, we can live in the same borders, they then imposed sanctions in Zimbabwe. Now, here is in South Africa. The economy, will it be good? Is it good? But you will never find any race group unemployed as we are. But if you were to intervene drastically and do all of these things with our power, which is what the revolution must produce at the ultimate, and that is why I'm saying, somebody misunderstand me. I'm not saying in the future, I'm saying it's our struggle now that me and you, we are going to be involved in, and probably we are going to be accused that we have run down the economy by those who've got better voices and platforms to express themselves, that this economy of South Africa was the best, and yet it is the best when our people live in the two economies, and the other one, a growing inequality, and the other economy which produces squatter camps. And Gary Player says that BE must be done away with because we now have more squatter camps. It is this second economy within this one economy that continues to produce squatter camps, that continues to give us people who rely on indigent policies, that continues to give us this economy that depends on the democratic state to look after those who are unemployed through 350s and all of that. And yet what we are thriving for is equality, where in which all of us, we can be at the same level, and yet we are not there. Because if by race and group you look at levels of unemployment and who is in the streets now at home and having shelter, you will find that the majority of the Africans and black people are down there, are still down there. And therefore, I didn't mean that when I said that that struggle is coming. I meant that is coming because we're still going to engage in that struggle. And will we be together in that struggle? And I can't just end it there. It means we must do our work.
So it's not ANC policy what Godongwana was saying?
No, it is not ANC policy what Godongwana was saying. He was thinking aloud. And whatever that he was thinking and saying is not ANC policy. And I remember him saying that. It's not ANC policy, that the doors and all of that. What has happened here, the characterization I'm giving you, is the fact that it started then. What has happened now is the fact that we've got porous borders. We can address that and we'll win that. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, what we have here, others don't have. And we are connected to Africa. And as Africa prosper, it means we must do away with dictatorship and all of those things in order to enable Africans to benefit from their own economies. In that way, they will not come here and look for jobs.
Okay.
And they are rich in their countries, minerals and all of that, mines and so on. They can work there.
Yes.
And so not to come to South Africa. And South Africans will be in a position to enjoy their economy and all of that.
Let me take 2 more calls, SG, before we conclude. Muzi, 30 seconds, Muzi from Mamelodi.
As long as you still worshiping the likes of Kagame and these other Western forces, agent forces in this continent, the ANC will still suffer. The ball is in your court as the NEC of the African National Congress. And firstly, man, we are having branches we have secretaries of the branches, especially here in Swat, who cannot unpack or analyze the eye of the needles. That's where the ANC dies. That bunch of secretaries and chairpersons who are the so-called, I call them alien branches. We don't have, that is why our ANC is dying. And it's unfortunate that after the death of Christiani, the NDR should have been the pillar of the second phase of the economy. We're working together with the BEEs. It was going to create it, but I don't think with 30 minutes ago I will be able to express myself here. But I'm the only person. It's unfortunate that I'm the only person here, Comrade Mbalula, that support the ANC. That support I'm the only one.
Oh, thank you very much. Last one, SG. There's Khomozo here in Johannesburg. 30 seconds, Khomozo.
Thanks, Mbiseni. I'm calling from across the Mediterranean here. Our SG is really disappointing. Let me say the ANC's SG is really disappointing in his remarks. We have people who come from Nigeria, first Nigeria. They come here, they sell drugs freely, they traffic our children. We have people who travel all the way from Pakistan, Bangladesh. I was in a flight with one of them the other day. They come here, they do as they please, while the African child suffers in the business space, especially in the township. But our ANC is very quiet about that. What's his position? What's the ANC's position on those matters? And also, what's the future outlook with these people who are killing our children?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khomozo. I can't say it's a very tough position that you find yourself in, SG. What do you have to say? The migration question, it extends beyond this problem of Zimbabwe you are describing, inclusive of people even from East Asia. Well, Asia, the sub-Asian subcontinent, of course, East Africa, and then the Nigerians. I want to add to this question of drugs, because I don't see Nigerians go locationing, maybe some cities, but which is killing and basically rendering the future of this country into tatters. What, in addition to these questions, if you could say something about what the ANC's efforts are around ending Nyaupe in the townships?
No, we must do the simplest thing, and which is what we are doing right now. And our government must lead in that particular regard, because we do have policies that are very clear, and we've got operational challenges in terms of porous borders. You don't go to any country, go there, sell drugs and settle, and have a home there without papers, which is what is not the criticism, is the outcry. Even myself is an outcry from myself that today, if we go across the street in Hillbrow, there's a lot of people there, staying there, and who happen to be Africans in their majority. But they don't have papers. They've taken over buildings. Hillbrow, when you go there today, it's not Hillbrow, you know, that used to be. It's full of people without papers. They sell drugs. They do all sorts of illegal stuff. Now, there is no self-respecting nation that allows that. Those people are not there, some of them, because of running from political violence in their countries. They run away from hunger and underdevelopment and unemployment. They found shelter in our country to do illegal things. We must ship them out. We must ship them out. And that is what our people are calling on the part of the state. Because if you don't do that, you will have Dudula operations. It's like if the state is not strong enough to intervene in terms of the rule of law, people take the law into their hands. That cannot be a justification, because that means the state is collapsing. So we must act in terms of the laws, but we must equally act to deal with this influx of all nationalities. My last operation at the airport of OR Tambo was to see Bangladesh. You know how far is that? People flying into OR Tambo, not coming by road, you know, through the borders, landing at the airport, and then getting inside the airport and jumping inside the country from an aeroplane. I mean, you can't do that to any other country. Before you depart from here to any other country, you must be confirmed that from your point of departure, that you've got a visa to visit that particular country. So we got them here, and there was a system through the airlines. Airlines had an arrangement, and therefore we send them back. And they are from there, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and all of that. So what people are raising, it's not hatred. South Africans don't hate anyone. Of course, you can have people who do things that make us look like we are xenophobes, we are anti-Africans, and all of that. You can't go to Zimbabwe today without papers. You will be chucked out of that country. You can't go to Ghana. They've got laws even that protect local traders there. And then say, no, everything here is protected for our local traders, Ghanaians. So it happens in all these countries. You can go next door to Botswana. The president there talked something about Zimbabweans are welcomed in our country. You have changed the tune. And saying the right thing, that no, we must protect ourselves and our borders. So there's no hatred here. Our laws must bite, and I'm very happy with what I saw the other day in court with the city of Johannesburg. It's the right thing to do. Those who've got no papers to be here, we can't even trace them when they pickpocket, rape, do any illegal stuff here, because they are not recorded anywhere in terms of forensics and all of that. So we need to deal with these issues decisively, and if we are not, we will be projected as inept and not protecting citizens.
Secretary General, thank you so much. for your time. I must also thank the Power Lunch team for having indulged us up to this point. It's been a great pleasure to have you here on Power Talk. It was a special one because I suppose the ANC still takes a lot of time, but I'm hoping we will get you back before the local government elections take place. But thanks very much, SG.
No, thank you for having us after a very long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bantwana Benkosi. That's it from us. Please stay tuned for Kwena and Power Lunch right after the headlines. From me and the team here, Ndintanda Nonke Makai.
Good afternoon. In news making headlines, Ekurhuleni Metro Police Chief Jabulani